Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another webinar from Shure, from the Shure India team. And today we are going to discuss something which we are going to see quite often going forward. How does that affect, how does that new norm or the new way of living, which wherein we will see social distancing in a lot of places, not just in our average surroundings, but also in our workplace. So how does that affect basically the collaboration, our meetings, day-to-day activities at work, wherein we need to collaborate with people either within the within the office, across offices, and what measures need to be considered, or what has to be understood to be able to be prepared, and what are the terminologies which basically you should be aware of, and what are the obviously we all know we will go through the challenges, but how do we look at addressing those challenges in a way which does not make look like technology is intruding your environment, right? So we'll be discussing quite a bit of that. I'm Devraj Panikar once again, and I've been joined along with Fali Damania. So we both would be conducting the session. Fali would be helping me with the questions at the end. And for those who have joined us first time, in this particular webinar, it's basically a one-way broadcast session. So you get to see and hear the presentation, and then if you have any questions based on what I've discussed, you have a Q&A window on your screen. So if you have any questions, you can type in those questions, and then at the end of the session, we can take through those questions. So for which Fali would be helping me with that. Let's look at today's agenda. So, like I said, we are going to see some new challenges in the way we work. We will discuss, a new terminology which is called as voice lift, and what is it, and how is it going to help us, have efficient meetings in bigger workplaces, and what are the different applications of this particular concept, and how does that interface with your existing conferencing environment. And then at the end, the bit of a typo there, the fourth point is the Sawal Jawab session, which is where we'll be taking up the question and answer. So social distancing, everybody's very familiar with this topic, and we all know why it has to be followed, and we have some guidelines also coming from the government as to what recommendations have to be followed, whether it is an in-person meeting or whether it is a meeting which includes people within the room and people virtually with you over a video conference. There are some recommendations from the World Health Organization as well. An example being, you should ideally be a meter apart from each other. When you're having a in-person communication or a face-to-face conversation. Obviously, a lot of physical contact needs to be reduced or kind of avoided. And we are seeing already this trend being taken up. The meeting rooms which were having 20, 30 seats, technology in place for all those seats and all those participants, that cannot be, it will not be the same anymore. Then as per the new guidelines, as per the new ways of doing meetings, you'll have to sit apart. And this is one example of a meeting room wherein you have the discussion units, let's say, which are deployed as per the earlier seating arrangement, as per the planned seating arrangement. But mostly going forward, every alternate seat will be skipped, and then you'll have to sit as how they have been using right now. So this is something that one has to consider, whether it is an existing space or it is an upcoming space, to enable and and justify, what should be done to ensure collaboration doesn't get affected and the meetings also happen in a safe way. So this is, a very, very clear example of, what the new challenge is, and how is it going to affect. This is the Uttar Pradesh CM, Mr. Adityan, Mr. Yogi, and earlier, obviously, the meetings were happening before the situation. The meetings were happening in his meeting room, right? But now, because of the norms that have to be followed, because of the guidelines, most of the institutions, most of the leadership meetings are happening in bigger premises, right? All that technology that went into that room cannot be used, and then people have to make a way for a different space. Now, looking at this, it may not be easy for everyone to understand how exactly this room feels. So let's say, for example, the head of the meeting sitting at the chair at the end of the room, if he's speaking something, and if you are sitting at the very end, let's say, for example, the person on the right hand side of this picture, right? It's a very different experience, compared to what it was in a meeting room, right? Here you have a lot of it's a big hall. Everybody can imagine how an announcement or any PA system would sound in a big hall. And when critical messages have to be noted, when critical points have to be taken down, you cannot risk that that part of communication come to you in a way which is distorted, or in a way which is something you find it difficult to interpret or comprehend for a long time, right? So this is the new challenge, and how we can overcome this new challenge is something that we're going to discuss now. Now let's look at what happens, what's the physics behind what happens when you go away from the person you want to listen to, right? So there is a concept called as the inverse square law, which very simply means that the further you are away from the source of the sound, the energy of that sound reduces, and the intelligibility of that audio is much reduced, right? So that's something. Just as a way, if I go away from the microphone right now, you may be able to hear a little bit, but it was less intelligible. You suddenly, for a second, you started struggling, right? This is basically what's going to happen when the source of the speech moves away from the listener. So typical PA systems do amplify this to ensure that the energy is spread further, but again, it is not consistent, and the person right in the front gets to hear the full blast, and the person at the end again faces the same experience. And not only the loss of energy, but again the reverb effect cannot be addressed or solved by just a PA system, right? So what is ideally needed is, if the loss of energy can be compensated by equally reproducing that audio across the room, is what is going to make that experience much uniform and much pleasant as well. You will be interested to hear that person speaking for a longer time, rather than forced to sit through that session in a very loud and echoing environment, right? This is the difference between just being able to hear what you are in the understanding stage right now, because with the technology that we have between us right now, you're able to have a dedicated interface. There's a microphone near me. There is a codec which is kind of broadcasting this to you guys. You have a device near you, and then you have a direct interface in your ears, right? Things are much simple. But here also there are some considerations need to be made to be able to ensure that you're able to understand me and not just hearing. Same concept applies for large rooms, and it is also here we only we are ensuring the technology addresses the passing of the audio from here over the internet all the way up to you. But within a room, again, you need to consider physics to be able to have a similar experience amongst all the audience in that room. So let's understand what this concept I was talking about in the earlier slide about equally distributing audio in a room and in a pleasant way. This concept is called as voice lift, and this is very, very different than a typical PA or a sound reinforcement environment, right? So what is voice lift, by the way? It is a system which is a combination of a microphone, a TSP and a speaker, ideally, if conceptually speaking. And it is this combination, when to put together in a right way, the output is so that it is just enough for people in other parts of that room or across the room to hear the person speaking very clearly, right? Like I said before, the PA system would do one or a central bolstering of the audio or a central reinforcement of the audio, and we leave it to that room ambience as to how that centrally amplified audio from the big speakers is handled by that room, right? Instead, if you do not want to touch the room acoustics, a voice lift system, if put in the right way, can do a better job by only amplifying those frequencies or only pushing those frequencies which are more which are more important for intelligibility, for being able to understand the speech, right? And not to send across all the frequencies which may not be which may not be important. So this is purely going to restore the loss of energy that sound waves had over distance, and that is where the equal reproduction of that audio at that equal distance across the room helps. So and compared to the typical sound reinforcement, voice lift usually increases the speech level in the room up to 6 dB at the most, right? And it is even so minimal, right? The effect is so minimal that you don't even realize that a room with voice lift has any technology in place to enhance or improve the audio of that room. You only get to know when it gets switched off, right? That's when you get to know, yeah, I mean, now I hear the person speaking naturally, at that distance, right? And then when you switch on the voice lift system or that particular setup, then you will understand that yes, I am not struggling to hear that person because he's speaking from a distance. I'm able to hear him comfortably sitting where I am because it got reproduced just as the way he would speak a meter ahead of you, right? Even if he's 100 meters away from you. So this is the ideal way of restoring the loss of energy due to distance, and that's what voice lift as a concept does. So to give an example, if you need to be in a room which was not designed to have a meeting, and then right now because of the situation you are you're required to be in that place, have your team come together whether you do not have a rack in place, you do not have a DSP in place, you do not have speakers in place. What are your options? Yes, one of the options is that you go for a rack, you go for complete setup, and then have the people sit with that thing. Another difference is you may not have fixed seating in that place. You may not have fixed tables. That may be a stopgap arrangement. So how do you plan to do with that many the similar PA system with those many number of cables, speakers, amplifiers, distribution, all that, right? So there is a way to address that, with or the ideal way would be to have an all-in-one system which gives you a microphone, which gives you a speaker, which has a DSP built in. It does the mixing by itself, and it is wireless. So you do not need to have a rack in place to do all the stuff that I was speaking about, to have all the multiple channels come in, process them, amplify them, and give it out to those speakers, ensure the speakers are mounted somewhere in that room. So all that can be avoided. And one of the examples of how that can be avoided is having an all-in-one system, which is something I'm going to talk about a little bit today. Is the MXCW 640, which is a wireless discussion system, and it can be spread across the room. And it is each unit is an all-in-one unit. It has a microphone, it has a speaker, and it is wirelessly connected to its central control unit, which is the access point, which you see on the top right, and it is powered over a power over Ethernet switch, right? So the concept, this is how it works. So if one person speaks in that unit, everybody else in that meeting who has that unit close to them, they hear that person using their individual units which are close to them. So like I said before, the reproduction is uniform across the room rather than amplified from a single speaker source in that room. So you get to hear the actual energy of the speech which came out from that person speaking, equally distributed across that different units across the room. Now it can be a unit per person, or it can be a unit maybe even shared between two people so that they both can hear from the same source. So this is basically going to maintain the intelligibility which is difficult to achieve with the traditional approach of a typical PA system, right? So to give you a better visual perspective, I'm showing an example of a Ministry of Finance. This is France, and the Ministry of Finance had a requirement wherein they wanted to do a meeting, it was basically a lunch meeting, wherein they had decided this place, right? The delegates decided, yes, this is the place that we want to do this meeting. Now, you can imagine that in this place, in this hall, and in this kind of seating arrangement, if you're sitting in one end of this one end of the seating, one corner of the seating arrangement, without any additional help, the person sitting on the other corner would struggle to hear that person. It's very natural because of the distance, because of the reflective surfaces, the ceiling, the floor, the glass walls, the distance, the whole ambient effect is going to make it very difficult for people to be able to hear each other naturally. What's the solution? Yes, we can give that person speaking a handle microphone or a label microphone, typical PA setup, and make this thing happen. But did they have a choice? And did they have some certain asks? Yes. The French way of doing things is very neat, right? So it was a lunch meeting. They had planned for food to be on the table. There would be decoration happening on the table. The ask was that they cannot have technology intrude this meeting. However, they needed technology to have the meeting done, right? So that's where it was decided to go for this setup that I was talking about, the wireless discussion system, wherein they could spread it across the table. Every single seat, or at least between two seats, they could have their own microphone, their own speaker system, their own DSP, their own amplification. Everything is there, but no cables, no rack. It's just the unit sitting there and kind of complementing the rest of the ambience of this room. So this was this an example of how a wireless discussion system like the MXCW 640 can enable voice lift in large spaces and make meetings happen without troubling the end user a lot with technology intervention. So let's look at few applications and applications of this particular solution, and how the interfacing can happen, right? So one of the examples is that all the interfacing basically happens from the access point. And from the access point, there are ways with which you can interface. Let's say, for example, if it was this room, if there was somebody on the other side who wanted to hear them as well, and there is probably a VC codec, like a Cisco codec, you can interface this room without again putting a table on the cable on the table or anywhere near the table. It can just be taken from the access point. The access point can be somewhere, if you can see the small plant or the plants on either side of the room, it can be somewhere in that corner. And from that access point, you can basically interface using an interface box, which basically converts the audio from network to the analog interfaces which the VC codecs would have, right? We also have a USB interface, which can improve the smartness of integration with the codecs. Other than that, you can also have just the audio cables interface with the MXEW APT, right? It also interfaces with soft codecs like Teams. Right now, you are actually hearing me through an MXEW unit, which I will show you to you in some time. So and it is being interfaced with the BlueJeans codec. I'll explain how that interfacing has happened. Which means that this interfacing can be wireless and a good mix of wired and wireless. Not only including hard codecs, but also soft codecs like Teams, Zoom. You can even have your live streaming interface. You see that a lot of people these days have to do announcements. If it is a government announcement, they have to be in a place, maybe with their team, and then they have to basically do that announcement to the media or to the online audience. Either through the live streaming platforms, or it can also be given to the broadcasts basically. So you can have multiple applications of this a particular solution and maintain social distancing, have it remotely placed, carry it around anywhere you want. Don't have to be worried about installation or kind of an wired installed setup everywhere you have to use it. So this is and there are different ways of interfacing it with different communication technologies, whether it is a hard codec, soft codec, streaming platforms, or even the broadcast channels for if there is a press meet, if there are press updates to be given. So those are the options available. Some brief of what are the components. I'm not discussing the product in detail, but I would be happy to explain this product to you in a one-on-one session if you're interested. So I'll share the contact details at the end of the session. But just to give you a brief as to what this how this technology works. So basically, it works with on a 2.4 or 5 gigahertz frequency band. The access point basically controls up to 125 of the delegate units, which are the units with the microphone and speaker. And it basically does automatic frequency coordination. Again, it saves time and effort. When traditional wireless systems have to be scanned and then found that which frequency to be used. And it is also very safe when it comes to government or military installations, because it is smartly designed with an algorithm to understand what is the wireless environment around it, right? Even if there are pre-Wi-Fi era wireless frequencies in use, for example, radar or radio, or some advanced frequencies which are not known to the general public, it can still detect in a way to avoid those, not interfere with them, and then choose a channel which is safe to use, so it does not interfere with those channels which have obviously very important use, and then which also finds a safe channel for us, so that our communication with this device doesn't get affected, right? It is also secured. It supports encryption as well, so any communication after the access point cannot be or after the delegate unit cannot be decrypted by any other wireless receiver anywhere else. right? You can mount it, on a wall. You can mount it on a stand, if it is a temporary kind of an installation. And then basically it makes it very simple to deploy. And this is the only unit which is controlling the complete delegate system, or the complete discussion system, or the units which are in front of the delegates. There is no PC required. There is no central control unit other than this access point which is required to make the units function. And this is the delegate unit, which is basically a combination of a microphone, a speaker, built-in processing. It also has a touch screen to, in case if you want to do voting. So you will get voting interfaces, or you get basically some visual indications as to who is the person speaking, what is the name of the person. Those can be programmed. If you want to basically program it with NFC card. It has NFC card slot to keep profiles saved. Let's say, for example, since these are wireless units, there is a chance that today, if person X was using this unit, tomorrow it does not go back to person X for use. Maybe person Y is using it. So with the NFC card, you can have person Y's profile come into play, whether he was a chairman or he was a delegate. Just when he inserts the NFC card into the slot, he basically, it becomes his system for that meeting, right? It also supports 3.5mm headphone jack, which allows you to interface it with your mobile phone. So if in a meeting in that room, a person was not available and he had to be contacted over the phone, you can just connect a 3.5mm cable from your phone to any of this unit in that room, and then make that call, and that person will be virtually in the meeting with his audio coming to all the unit speakers, and whoever speaks from their individual microphone, that audio can be transmitted to the remote side, right? So these are some of the key features. It runs on lithium-ion batteries, which go on the rack-based chargers. So you can have up to 10 units on charge, or 10 batteries on charge in this charger. They can be plugged out, and the way they have been designed is that you don't need to open any gate, you don't need to open any screws. You can just pull them out, and that's why you see a curved design. They match the curved design of the unit, right? And the network charging station allows you to monitor the health of the battery, how many charging cycles has the battery completed, and how many and how long is it going to take to have the battery fully charged. By the way, the batteries just need 4 hours to fully charge from zero. And a fully charged battery can make the delegate unit run for 11 hours. If somebody is using, like I'm speaking into it for 11 hours, that's how it's going to last 11 hours. Obviously, if it is going to be on standby, the standby time is much higher. The network charging station also has a storage mode. So if the units are away for a long time and you don't use them, you can just put them in the storage mode, so that the battery while they're charging, they do not dry up, but they also don't get overcharged and the life doesn't get affected. So these are some of the the key features of the battery. And I also wanted to give you a glance of how my setup right now looks like. So basically, I am sitting on the I'm on the office desk. I have one of the units on my desk, and there is the access point here, and my unit is talking to the access point. The access point is basically, let me just point it out. So from the access point, there is it's connected to the PoE switch from where it gets its power. And I have another DSP from our portfolio, which is called as a P300. The P300 is also a Dante-based DSP, so that is also connected over the network. And from here, there is a USB cable that is going to my PC, right? And this is how you are able to hear me right now. So audio from the delegate unit or the MXCW640 goes to the access point, wirelessly, and which basically gives me a lot of flexibility. I have less cables on the table. I have a microphone, I have a speaker. But yeah, I mean, practically speaking, it has that's how wirelessly it works, and it's a combination of wireless network, wired network, and USB. That is how it is interfaced with this Blue Jeans setup right now. So and the beauty of the DSP here is that once you plug this on your PC on USB, it any application, any conferencing application on the PC is able to detect that as its microphone as well as speaker, right? So it makes it much easier. I don't have to install any software on the PC. It's the USB interfacing and the codecs, which basically automate that. I just need, just as the way I will select an internal webcam or an internal or any other headset. I just need to select that interface for microphone and speaker, and then I'm good to go. No configuration required on the PC as well. So that's basically a brief session for today. But before I jump into question and answer, I also wanted to show you my setup. Or show you, what exactly I'm using. So let me just jump out of this presentation. And start my camera. Hopefully you guys get to see me. And for people who have not been able to see or hear for any bandwidth related issues, don't worry, we will have this session uploaded on our YouTube channel, Shure South Asia. But yeah, for those who are live, this is my place, and you may not hear me for a while I show this to you. So this is what I had in place in front of me, and that's how you are hearing me right now. So it was totally wireless, but like I showed, it was interfaced with the with the PC over Blue Jeans, using all that jugglery I showed, which is very simple to put. I did not have to spend a lot of time configuring this. To give you a difference as to what difference this makes compared to, let's say, any other microphone, let me just try switching to another. Let's say I'll switch to the webcam microphone so that you get to see that difference. Okay, it looks like it is not giving me that option to select that another microphone. No worries. So yeah, so that's basically how it is, how the setup was today. So basically what we discussed today is that how we can have a wireless all-in-one discussion system in place. And by the way, this is also my speaker, like I said, like whatever I get to attend these calls, and then what audio comes from the remote side, I get to hear from the speakers built into this. So let's say when Fali speaks up, when we discuss the Q&A, I'll be hearing Fali through the speakers on this unit, right? So let's go back to my screen so that we can just follow that agenda. And let's look at some questions, some sawal and jawab. Fali, you there with me, buddy?
Yes, very much so. I'm here. So we have one question, and it's basically asking what is the best way to find clear frequencies for this system?
Yeah, good question. The best way is to access the access point itself, which basically continuously keeps scanning. So let me just actually show you that right here. So the access point is basically continuously scanning, and that is how it is automatically being able to decide which channel to use and which channel to avoid based on the strength. Yeah, that's how it is done with this system. let me just quickly open up the access point. Give me a second.
And is there like something you have to do, or like does it just, sense and set up everything automatically?
Yeah, so nothing has to be done. It just sets up automatically. You just switch on the access point, you just switch on the delegate units, and they automatically, the access point automatically finds the right frequency, and the delegate units automatically find the SSID. You can tell the delegate units to change to another SSID if you have programmed another one, so that if you have different meeting rooms, they know which access point to connect to. But yeah, so most of the basic setup is automated. I'm just signing into my access point. I had to switch off my camera because I had to go and plug that access point into my router to get this routing done. And now I have that. So let me just show you. I'm share screen. There you go. So what you're seeing right now, Fali, just confirm if you see my screen.
Your screen?
Yep. It should show you the browser, the access point browser.
Yes, exactly. And I'll just zoom into your, yeah, so that everyone should be able to see it a little nicer now, clearer now.
Yeah, everybody can zoom in. So if you're not seeing the screen in full side, you'll see a slider on your window. So once you move the slider to where you see the presentation icon, you will see my screen pop up fully. So this is where basically, let me just show you. If you can see the bottom of the screen, it's kind of continuously scanning, right? So which are the good channels, which are the bad channels, and we even have color coding of the the not so good channels as well. And right now also, you can see that we are in this channel, which is basically it is able to detect and see that it is all fine. So this is basically how you access the access point, the central control, which you will need mostly only for the advanced configuration. Let's say if you want to go and change the name of the unit, so you can see that when I'm speaking, or I'm using the chairman unit right now, so it shows that it is speaking. I have the audio controls in place here on the second tab, wherein I can define what's my input and outputs. This is basically my unit's status, what is showing on the floor, and what is my unit's battery life. All that you can see as an administrator sitting remotely by accessing the engine control. And the input section is where you can configure if you want to give what should come from the speakers. What is your Dante interfacing, or what is your analog interfacing, because the access point supports both analog and Dante interface. So there's an analog in and out, and there are 10 Dante channels which are supported, right? And so, and this is the output. So just to explain, how is it working here? Is the floor mix is basically the audio that is on the floor. So when I'm speaking, and I'm this person speaking, I'm on the chair. Every other unit in that room will be hearing the floor mix, right? And that's basically the terminology used in this kind of concept. And what you can see is that from the access point, I have used one Dante out, which is the floor mix. And where is that Dante out going? This Dante out is going to the P300, right? And the P300 is what is connected, the DSP, which is connected with my PC over USB, right? So wirelessly from my unit, it goes to the access point, and I told the access point that send the floor mix out to my P300, and that is how you are able to hear me, as a from my system. right? So this is basically how you can do some audio controls. You can have some more Dante inputs. For example, if you have a wireless microphone system which also supports Dante, let's say for example the Shure ULXD system, that's also the audio coming in from those wireless units can also be interfaced with the access point as well. So if somebody is using a body pack or a handheld, that audio can also be routed to these units. So basically it becomes an all-in-one setup, and you do not have to go for a rack-based setup wherein you have a separate DSP, a separate amplifier. All of that is done by a simple combination of hardware and software, with this setup. So let me see if there are any. So there are some speak modes. Basically, it is a more advanced way of doing a managed session. Whether you want to allow multiple microphones to be switched on, whether you want to have limited control, whether you want people to speak one by one, otherwise it'll become a chaos. So those kind of additional configurations can be done. You can have some level of interpretation channels being defined here. The interpreted channels will come from the wired portfolio, the Microflex Complete, which is the wired version of this product, which basically has the interpreter units, and then those channels can be interfaced with these with this access point, and then you can define which input is coming with what name. So that's something the delegate unit will allow you to scroll through and select that I want to listen to this English translation from the English translator, because you don't understand the floor language, which may be different, right? So yeah, these are some quick examples of how the system can be used in an advanced way by taking the access of the APT. But for basic meetings, you actually do not need to even take access of the APT as well. Just switch the access point on, just connect it to the PoE switch, and just switch on the delegate units, and they talk to each other automatically. Like I showed, it automatically scans the frequencies, decides which frequency is safe to use, and then lets the delegate units talk. And then all you have to do as a user is just press the button and start speaking just the way I'm speaking right now. Do we have any?
There's a question. There's a question that says that we want to know basically how can this meeting be recorded? Not this meeting, as in the MXCW meeting.
Yeah, so this can be recorded in either using an analog recorder. You can take the analog output from the APT and then give it to a recorder which has the analog interfaces, or it can also be put on over Dante. So any interfacing over Dante can also be done. Yes, it will be a third-party recorder. The system does not support recording built-in. But yes, so you can take just as the way you are hearing the floor mix, the recorder can also be given the floor mix, so that whatever is being said can be including the remote audio, like what you are speaking, can also be given to that recorder, so that even in a virtual session or a remote session like this, the far end audio can also be sent to for recording. So that is also possible.
Don't see any other questions. So just for everyone's information, how long would it say if you have a cart and you have 12 or 15 systems on a cart and you bring it inside a room, how long before you can start the meeting? How long will it take to set up?
It would take around 3 to 5 minutes, right? I'm not considering the physical movement, but if you're able to place everything in the right in the right position, the only effort behind switching on the units, which is basically how you switch on the units, is by pressing a button behind the unit, which is somewhere over here, and after you press that, so the cycle that you have to follow is plug the access point in, It'll anyways, once you plug it in, it'll automatically switch on. There is no switch on button on the access point. So once you plug the access point in on the PoE connection and connect it to the switch, it switches on, it starts doing its job. And once you have put the delegate units, you switch them on, and then the delegate units start interacting with them. So let's say if you have 10, 12 units, 5 minutes is max it will take to for all the delegate units to start. We even have a video of this this exercise, wherein I think there was a timer put in place, and it took, I think, roughly around 3 minutes to have I think 8 units hook up to be fully in use.
Awesome. So you're saying you don't necessarily even require a dedicated technical person to handle the system. It is something that, literally anyone with a little bit of guidance through the first time or the second time should be able to manage. You don't necessarily require a technical person to be on site to help while you're doing these setups.
Exactly. Yeah. And the good thing is that Sun Infonet, our distributor, has a couple of kits of this already ready. So they are Pelican cases wherein these units are placed properly. And because of the ease of this the setup, it can be easily be taken and then just follow some basic guidance steps and set up the access point somewhere in that one corner, and then just place the units. They're all wireless, so you can even hand it over to people if there are no table. But setting it up is, there is no technical part involved other than just connecting that network cable to the access point and the PoE switch. That's the only part where you need to physically cable stuff. Everything else is wireless. Everything else is automated.
Great. Anything else you want to disclose to the people here?
So yeah,
Any more information, because we have some 15 odd minutes.
So let me just. Okay, so for the audience here who are interested to know more of our products, especially certification for this particular solution, let me just point you to that screen. Okay. Right. So for people who are more interested in understanding about the certification for these products, we have a learning portal wherein you can go and enroll. So there are courses for MXCW technical enablement where you get to understand, okay, what is this product about, how to install, how to program, and it's a very quick course. So because it is very simply made. So you can access our Talent LMS portal. The address is sure-sure.talentlms.com. The enrollment is very simple, a very simple form, and then you have different courses available in there, and one of the courses can be the MXCW course as well. So this is one thing I wanted to share. But if you have any questions that you want to put to us, you can write to us at india@shure.com, or if you want to reach directly to me, you can reach out to my email address, which is the bottom, panikar_devraj@shure.com. Right. For the earlier webinars that we have done, some of which is, and there is one webinar which I've done to explain this particular product as well, and I've explained that in Hindi. So to those audience who want to understand this product, or who think that they can understand it better in Hindi, I've done that before, and that is available on our YouTube channel, which is the Shure South Asia. And please go ahead and we have done some other sessions also. I mean, non-Hindi sessions as well, which Fali has been doing. I've also done a couple of English sessions like this. To basically help you understand the different products, different concepts, and how our portfolio can be helpful in achieving those new concepts, which are very new to this region, but have been deployed in regions outside India. And we definitely have that, the same infrastructure in places, is that the awareness wasn't there. I hope that by having these content in place, and once you go through this content, you will get to understand as okay, how do we be better prepared for the upcoming virtual meeting world, and not jeopardize or not basically dilute the quality of the meeting. Yep.
Dave, there are some guests with us who would like to demo the kit for themselves and would also like a longer, like a one-on-one session to get a little deeper into the system. So, yeah. So here, guys, you can send an email to either one of these two emails. You can email Devraj directly, panikar_devraj@shure.com, and you can CC that to india@shure.com, and we'll get back in touch and figure out a suitable time when to do this. And as far as quite a few people that want to actually demo the kit for themselves, so that's something we can figure out with Sun Infonet, and even if you're in various cities across India, it's something we can figure out how to get that demo across to you, the demo kit across to you.
Till then, I have this kit with me, and once we have one-on-one session schedule in place, we can have a much longer discussion about how did I set this up, what are the dependencies, what you should consider, or what should be the queries that you can probe with your customer about that environment. So that's something we can definitely discuss one-on-one. How the interfacing can happen, that's something very interesting. With different codecs, you'll see codec environments with VC system and environments without VC system. So what you should prepare to have the right setup in place and the right experience as well.
Yeah.
Looking forward.
There's one more question, but this is just a generic question. So regarding the upcoming webinar schedule. So just towards this point, we usually post the schedule a few days in advance, at least 24 hours in advance, and it's either on Facebook and it is on Dave's and Chico's LinkedIn channel. So you could see it there, register, and then you could join in. But any other way or anywhere else, Dave, that folks can get a schedule?
These would be, so first of all, if you have registered now, you'll definitely get the next notification, because we have your details now. But for those who are not yet there in our database, like Fali said, it's either can be if it will be definitely on Facebook, but also LinkedIn. We also give notifications on LinkedIn as well. So yeah, look for me on LinkedIn, and then if you follow me, you'll probably get these updates there as well.
I'm just posting the Facebook link in the announcements window. So even if you just Google Facebook and Shure India, it will come up. But in any case, here is the link. I've just sent it across. Okay. So since we have a few more minutes, Dave, there's Venu Gopal that's requesting if we can quickly go through the setup slides. So the slides of your setup really quick.
Yep. Yeah. This one, right? So yeah, I'll explain to you once again. So if you let me ensure that you see laser pointer. So I am sitting here, right? And I have I have the discussion unit one with me, which you saw. And this one right now is talking to an access point, which is basically right behind my screen. And it basically can go up to a distance of, this distance can be up to 50 meters or 150 feet, right? So my house is very small, so it's a no-brainer for these two things to talk to each other. But even in challenging environments like trade shows, we have tested it to work beyond 45 meters easily. So that's how the discussion unit is talking to the access point. The access point is then basically connected to the switch. So that's what the PoE switch is, what gives the access point power. The audio picked up by the access point from the discussion unit goes to the switch, and from this switch it is going to my DSP right now, which is the Shure P300. It's basically a very small DSP which also has a USB interface along with analog interfaces. This DSP is also connected over the network. So from here to here, the audio is coming over the network or Dante, and from the P300, it is connected over the USB to my PC. Right, and the way P300 is detected by the PC is just like any microphone or speaker peripheral or USB peripheral that the PC would identify. So no software other than the Blue Jeans or the Teams software is required to be installed just to make this setup work. It automatically detects what are my audio interfaces, and then you just need to scroll down and select, and then boom, you're done. So apart from that, the access point also supports analog inputs and outputs. There are two XLR ports, one in and one out. If, for example, or for some reason you want to have this integrated, the floor audio also go to external speakers, you can take the output from the access point and then you can use it on the house speakers as well. Or if you have an analog wireless microphone, which whose audio you wanted to be put on the discussion units, that interfacing can also be done. Option number one, use the analog input from that analog microphone system. Option number two, if that wireless microphone system supports Dante, you can give a Dante input also via the network to the access point. So there are two ways that you can interface a wireless microphone system also with the wireless discussion system. Any specific question coming in from that?
No, I don't see any more questions at the moment. I think we're good. Although there are quite a few attendees that have requested for direct demo of the kit. So that's folks, if you all could just email us again. Remember to email Dave. Dave, if you want to just put that email back up. So just send us an email saying that you'd like to have a demo of the kit, and accordingly we can figure out how to send it to you in whichever city you are.
Yep. So yeah, I'll be definitely happy to do that one-on-one session, and by that time I hopefully get to get that 3.5 mm cable as well, so that I can show you the mobile phone integration as well. So yeah, slowly setting that up.
Great. Yes. Sorry. Yes, Subhash. The recording of this will be up on our YouTube channel very soon. So again, this is our YouTube channel. You can also find it by just typing in Shure South Asia on YouTube, and it should come up in Google. Type it in Google, and the page will come up. So all the past webinars, everything that Dave has done will all the recordings are posted on there.
So just so that who is the audience available so far, if you're also interested in other demos, I'm also setting up few other things for people who want to hear the ceiling array microphone. I am just about to set that up as well. And then if you want to have a live experience, maybe we can try that out too. Because of in the last few webinars, I saw some of them were really interested in having those array microphone sessions done again. So it's for those people. I am setting something up right now, and then hopefully by next week I should have that thing in place. So do stay tuned for another notification. And if you're interested to have a one-on-one session for these specific products, do let us know on these addresses. And even if it is not this product, if you are aware of some other product which and you want to know more about, but we probably have not covered, or you have not been able to attend those sessions, but you would want a more in-person session, do let us know, and then we will try to have a one-on-one session done with you all. Okay, so I guess that would be all for today. Thank you very much for all of you to join. In case if there are any other questions, Fali, if you want to take.
Any more questions at the moment, Dev? I think we're good.
Cool. So thank you very much, everyone. Dhanyavad. And hopefully, I get to see you all in the one-on-one sessions. Please write to us. Or if for some reason you've not been able to capture, reach out to Sun Infinite team. If you have been in touch with them, they will also help us to connect, and then we can have that kind of coordination as well. Okay. So have a good day, everyone. Thank you for your time. See you all very soon.